Hello and welcome to For Fox's Sake. Welcome to the preview with myself and with Joe. Joe, how do we find you on this Friday evening? A little bit later than normal that we would be recording. So apologies for that, but we've been I've been extremely busy. It's all my fault actually, to be perfectly honest. But I will hold my hands up. It's been a mad week. So we're talking all things Leicester against Blackburn. Only in a few hours' time. What's Saturday lunchtime?
Yeah, 12:30 kickoff, is it? Which I will be, really looking forward to it. We'll be coming up from Somerset, so 7 o'clock in the morning start for me and the lad. And we're not going to brave the park and ride because don't get me started on the park and ride, Pete. They have added a stop at Foss Park and it's a disgrace. But apart from that, we're really looking forward to it. We'll be up there SK4, I think we're in this week. I booked this one, I sort of earmarked this one as probably an easy win. Is it going to be? Who knows?
Well, exactly. Who knows? I mean, we might know, but we're not in the greatest form, are we? After the two defeats on the spin, away at Hull, and then last week against Millwall. I bumped into a Millwall fan at work. Actually, I forgot there's one there, that didn't go down too well, but never mind. If you want to comment on the show, then do get in contact. If you're watching live on Twitter, on X, or on Facebook, or on YouTube, if you are, then a big hello, and make sure you do get in contact and leave a comment about what we're saying, about what you want to say regarding Leicester against Blackburn. If you listen over audio via Apple or via Spotify, then a big hello to you. Do make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. Again, we're going to have that competition starting very soon. I know I've been banging on about it for a while, but you need to be a subscribed YouTube member. So basically, you click subscribe once you sign up to YouTube, and it's completely free. It just means that you will never miss a show. And it means that you're automatically entered into our fantastic prize draw. Anyway, more on that in future episodes. We will be having our BC Games special next week regarding the sponsor. Again, apologise that went out this week, but again, just ultra busy. All things sponsor with James, and then we'll have a big show as well regarding all that's happened in recent times. So we'll rattle through the preview. First off, as we like to do on the preview, Leicester versus Blackburn Rovers. What memories of this game, Joe, and also players who have played for both clubs? Who comes to mind straight away?
I had a little look, and they're all like what
Cheating.
I would call yes, because I got caught out last time. But there's quite a few like what I call classic players, and I think me and you are a similar age, Pete. So we're talking about like Paul Dickovs, Keith Gillespie, Robbie Savage, a few of those kind of guys that were around when I really started being completely hooked on Leicester City, I think.
Savage comes to mind. Paul Dickovs, the first one that came to mind. Mike Newell, David Speedier, then, because you go back to the 92 playoff final. Dive. It was a dive. It was definitely a dive. And then you look at modern day Savage. You mentioned Tim Flowers. Of course, won the league with Blackburn. And if you go back a number of years, actually, for Fox's Sake, we had our trip down memory lane during COVID when I sat in the garden, basically in the sunshine, and dreamt up kind of an alternative timeline to Leicester's past regarding the 60s, 70s, and I did one. What happens if O'Neill didn't leave, etc. And you can go back and listen to them. You can find them on the podcast. And I suppose with Black, honestly, I listened to them about a year ago on the motorway, and they're good stuff. It's not quite as bonkers as it sounds, but really good stuff.
I remember them. They were very good. And was it a COVID time? We needed any football content we could get our hands on, basically, don't we?
Absolutely. So I went into extreme detail about what Leicester were as a football club on that specific occasion I did the Ice King. So what happens if Leicester actually won the double in the early 60s? Would Leicester have become a big force in English football? Again, what would happen if O'Neill left? I won't ruin the surprise. What happens? What was the other one? What happens if Nigel Pearson stayed on as manager, if he didn't leave and Claudio was appointed? And it wasn't quite, once you go a few years after that, you start going a bit bonkers. But yeah, it was good. But if I was to do a few more, which I still might, you never know. But one of them could easily be what happens if Leicester actually won the 1992 playoff final. Because obviously, when Blackburn don't get promoted, they don't then spend a couple of years in the Premier League getting better and better, and then ended up obviously winning the Premier League. Where would Shearer have gone? Would he have gone to Manchester United? What would have happened to Manchester United then? Would he have gone elsewhere before he went to there's a whole world, would essentially Blackburn have got promoted the season after and still really gone for the league in a few years' time, maybe just 1 year later? Off the top of my head, that's probably what would have happened. But anyway, Blackburn have always. I remember going there I've not looked exactly when it was, but it was 2005, 6, the Levine era, where they got to Craig Levine era, when we got to I think it was the quarterfinals of the FA Cup, or at least the 5th, 6th round, something like that, where we lost to, I think it was a dick-off penalty actually late on. We played a really defensive side. That was very disappointing. But many people will instantly look at the results a couple of years ago against Blackburn and a fabulous away win, great Vardy goal. They actually turned us over when we were already up, or when we were slightly faltering towards the end of the season at our place. But anyway, it's that's by and by. Blackburn are in a spot of bother. They are 21st in the league, as I look at it on the big screen. They're 21st on the league. Played 11. They've actually got a game in hand over them, teams around them. Played 11, won 3, drawn 1, lost 7. So it's not quite the strong Blackburn that we've had in recent times. They've lost a number of their players. You think of a few years ago, the likes of Sammy Smodics, who I think a lot of people wanted at Leicester last couple of years ago. But instantly, it looks like a game on paper, which you said, Joe, at the start, that you think Leicester should go on and get 3 points. I think that kind of narrative, which I know you said kind of tongue-in-cheek, really, but I think that narrative just has to be thrown out the window at the moment with Leicester, because we have a severe problem, don't we? And unrest is starting to grow. I said last time out that before the Hull game, I think 95% of Leicester fans are kind of singing off the same hymn sheet at the moment, where we all know what the problem is with the side. It's the fact that we can't score. We've got good wingers. We've got a settled midfield. Obviously, a problem now in the number 10 position with Ramsey's injury. The defence kind of picks itself, and the goalkeeper, etc. So it's just the centre forward position, and we are not scoring goals from that position, and that is the issue. And then, of course, you go and lose a couple of games, and then people start to question the manager, and maybe rightly so, because you lose 2 games on the bounce. Is it a problem of Marti? Obviously, it is a problem, but is it a problem that he caused? I don't think so personally. I'll answer my own question straight away. I think anything regarding Cifuentes is absolutely bamboozling at the moment. We all know what the problem is with Leicester. We cannot score goals, and we've got to rectify that. Last time we were talking about how we would do that. I don't want to say, listen back to the old podcast and literally we're going to copy and paste what we said then, but it kind of applies, doesn't it? But is it a little bit more desperate now on the back of 2 defeats?
Yeah, I'd slightly disagree with you there, Pete, I do think the manager might well, I do think it's fair if there's a little bit of heat on him, even though we all know what the real problems are, the squad and the board. But we can go, can go on about the board. We don't want to hear it. We all know that. But I do think that Cifuentes isn't free from criticism at all, because he should have got some more wins. He should have got some more wins than he has. And what have we had? Like 2 wins in the last 10 or something like that. And I said it last time out when I was on the preview, and I remember doing the preview of Rob and saying it was just about the time that Marti had done that big interview with Radio Leicester, and Rob was saying, "Oh, I really like him. I really like what he's saying." And I sort of said, the thing is, managers are like politicians, aren't they? They can all say the right things, but it's backing it up. And we're not seeing it. I mean, the football is pretty boring, and there's not a lot of anything happening. So, whilst I don't lay it all at Marty's feet, I think the squad. I said it last time I was on the preview. The squad is absolutely. We've got a crap squad, basically. But he needs to be thinking about doing something different, and that's what he's there for. And so, suddenly we're looking at Blackburn, which should have been an easy win. I'm taking the kids up tomorrow, and I tend to try and when the kids are with me, I try and make sure we can go for a win. And they get the whole. We all have a lovely day out, and oh, Daddy, that was great. We scored some goals, lovely jubbly. Whether it goes like that, I mean. I still think it will do, but how he's got to come up with some ideas of how we score goals, which we'll probably go into.
He does. I mean, if you want to see goals at the King Power, probably wait until the Sunday when Leicester women play Arsenal. I think there'll be a few goals there. That should be a good game, by the way, at midday. So if you're stuck for something to do on Sunday, midday kickoff or 12:30 kickoff, I think it's midday. Leicester women against Arsenal women. So lots of England players on show if you want to take your son or daughter to that game. But obviously we're talking about Leicester on 12:30. Now, I think that's the key, because apart from obviously Ramsey being out, there's not a lot of development regarding players who probably will play. And how do you solve a problem of a Ramsey-less Leicester? Well, I think we were very strong on Ramsey in the game against Millwall in terms of playing maybe a three at the back and having Ramsey then as the creative player in the midfield three, or maybe sticking to the same formation and having Ramsey as that advanced midfielder behind the forward in a forward three, how we normally play. Excuse me. And I was just thinking today what I would do, and I just think the way Leicester are at the moment, I think if we carry on playing the formation that we're playing, four at the back, two, then the three behind the I think that would be foolish. Now, if we want to carry on playing that formation and change some of the players, bring in some youth again into the side, in positions that maybe aren't quite what we're thinking. I'm not saying throw Evans in up front, although why not? And play Thomas out wide, change the fullbacks round. There's lots of different ways of doing that. I'm more of a case of what we were saying last time about filling the bench and then bringing them players on necessarily, and that's what I would do. But I would also, and I think it's an easy thing to say when a club is struggling, to then change the formation to go, right, we're going to throw at the back, we're going to try this formation. Sometimes the easiest way to go about things is to go simple. And I'm looking at a 4-4-2 formation. So in terms of Leicester, if you look at the side, instantly you would change one player into another, and that would be Ramsey doesn't start because he's injured, he's out and out for foreseeable future by the sounds of it. And you would then play what I said last time, is having the two forwards. We're lacking goals. Patsendaka and Carranza at the moment can't hit a barn door. So playing both of them might sound a bit bonkers, but also it might actually be the answer. And having a straight 4-4-2 formation, slightly adaptable. We're not talking table football here where everyone's actually tied together on the same bar. But the back line doesn't really change. The midfield, if you think about it, you've got your Winks and Jordan in the midfield. So Winks and James midfield, that looks fine for a midfield two in a 4-4-2. The two wingers out wide, again, absolutely fine. If you're looking at maybe a Mavadidi or whoever's going to play on the left, and then on the right, obviously for Target. And then the two forwards. And then you can have Carranza and Patsendaka, one being Patsendaka running around, closing people down, as we've seen in the last, say, 20 minutes of games, etc., when he's come on. And then Carranza trying to find a bit of space with Daka causing chaos. and there being at least 2 players in the middle when a cross comes in. And I look at the side and go, well, actually, that's not the worst, because we don't really have that number 10. If you want to maybe change a few things around, if you want to play maybe Ayew and another in a 4-4-2, that would make sense. Maybe a Daka and an Ayew up front, one to drop slightly deeper. And then you're looking at maybe a formation from the league winning season where someone like Ayew could play the Okazaki role, etc. And then it looks a little bit more cohesive. And you look at then the fullbacks. And if I do refer back to the league winning season, and why not? You look at what happened when we brought in Christian Fuchs, and he didn't get forward. It was like, you sit there and you don't go above the halfway line. Of course, on occasion he did. But Danny Simpson on the other side, especially, didn't go forward. I would look at the left-hand side and someone like Thomas, or maybe if you're going to change that round, because let's be honest, he's having a terrible time with things. I would change it round and go solid. If you want to play a Nelson there, for example, a slightly out of position, go solid in a Doyle-esque way under Maresca, and say, don't do anything silly. Just lay the ball off. Just play it safe. The guy in front of you will do everything, a la Morris. And on the other side, maybe we can be a bit more expansive. But if you're going to play maybe a Hamza Chowdhury there, again, do a Danny Simpson. Just don't do anything silly. Just pass the ball forward. Fatawi will go forward and do everything. Don't worry. And then we rely on our creative players to do their stuff, and the midfield looks quite balanced. So I'm looking at it a little bit more pragmatic in a 4-4-2 to eliminate the absence of Ramsey by including another forward. It's nothing dramatic, but if you just slightly look at the positions and just tell everyone just to calm down slightly, calm down, try and keep it tight, but then by doing so, I think it actually opens up our forward position to hopefully give the chances for a Daka, an Ayew, or a Carranza to actually score. Whether they score or not, Joe, that's another question.
Well, I absolutely agree on it's time to get 2 up front. And I said earlier in the podcast, I think we're a similar age. So 4-4-2 is a music to my ears. I've got no problem with that at all. I chucked one in to the WhatsApp group earlier on, didn't I? A 3-5-2. But again, I had the 2 guys up front. I mean, we're not creating a lot of chances for the strikers. All right, the strikers are blind apparently, or have 2 left feet, but we're not creating a lot. So you do want to see, particularly against Hull. Hull just showed us how to do it at the time. This is how you hit the ball in on the ground from the wings, and all you guys in the middle are ready to receive the ball. So there's a bit of that. I mean, I go 3-5-2. I think name your 3 at the back. Really, we'd all like to see Nelson. But out of all of our centre backs, that's fine. I would drop Luke Thomas because he's had a few shockers. And I remember when Enzo did it. I remember Fatawu and Mavididi doing pretty good jobs out on the wings, getting back and defending, both of them really. I'm going Ricky P in the midfield with Winks and James, and then you can take your pick really, but up front I feel like Carranza and Daka could work, because Carranza doesn't seem like he's got a lot of pace, but he's got something about him, sort of strength and aggression wise, and Patson's pressed well. They need a few more chances. Our strikers are not going to score a lot of goals, but if we can get them a few more chances, I think that would really solve some problems that we've got up front. Because it can't just go to Abdul and then he sort of hangs around the edge of the box, goes for the top corner, and 1 out of 5 or 6 is an absolute worldie, and the rest go into row Z. So we need a better plan than that, really.
Yeah, we do. Let us know in the comments if you are watching live. Then let us know who you would start or what kind of formation you would play. Just a word on the opposition, because they won 2-1 against Southampton last week. So I did the highlights. Now it's been 7 days since I did them highlights, so a lot of water's gone under the bridge. But just looking at their side, and I'm refreshing my memory. Yeah, they play like a 3-5-2 essentially. That's how they lined up. Some big lads at the back. Deniv on the left, he likes to get forward, blonde hair. He really gets forward. They've got Gardner Hickman in midfield. He's on loan from Birmingham. He wears number 5, but he's a centre midfielder. Big lad, strong tackling sort who takes free kicks and also corners. Tronstad, another very solid player. So they like to pack the middle of the park. I wouldn't say the most flamboyant players in the world. But then what they have is that forward 3, Morishita, just behind Ahashi and Good Johnson. Ahashi looked a handful. I'm sure he wore a swimming cap. I don't know whether my eyes deceived me because I mentioned it and he was wearing a swimming cap playing. I don't know why. I didn't go into it. I didn't need to go into it, but he definitely was.
More aerodynamic, maybe?
Maybe, but he definitely did. And then they brought on the likes of Hedges. He come on out wide. Sidney Tavares was in their side. It was a strange game because Southampton should have won. They had plenty of big chances and then late goals from Blackburn won it really. But I wouldn't say. I thought the goalkeeper looked quite decent. He made some good saves. But apart from that, they looked like a very solid but uninspiring championship side with a few forwards who can, if you give them a chance, they look like they had a little bit about them, but maybe just lacking the overall quality, really, actually, to take them chances or to move them towards the top 6. I don't think they're any danger of doing that. But they turned over, as most sides are doing at the moment, Southampton. So that's Blackburn. When it comes to the game itself, so you're going, it's a 12:30 kickoff. It's very, very interesting regarding Leicester because again we always talk about the forwards, etc. You mentioned the side that you would pick. Are you still we've not fully pressed that red button of bringing in all the youth and starting them. I'm fully on side with bringing them onto the bench. Apart from the 1 or 2 positions in the side, like a Chowdhury or Ricardo Pereira at fullback, the other one will be on the bench. When you look at the centre halves, Walt Vaz, Yannick Vestergaard, a Coley will be the other one on the bench, along with maybe Nelson, that sort of thing. Apart from that, I would then fill with the youngsters who are hopefully pushing for a first team start, let alone to be on that bench. Have you got any closer to going bang, pressing the red button and including them in the first team? Or are we just still packing them on the bench? And if changes need to be made, make them nice and early and bring on the youth.
Yeah, I probably would have been going on about Jake Evans being on the bench for this one. But I think I saw today he's been called up for the under-17s World Cup, I think. So it looks like we're going to have to wait a while longer to see him up front. You know, we are going to have to solve that up front problem with the strikers we've got. Yeah, absolutely. I'm still there. As you know, you can't just chuck them all in. As much as we all want to see all these amazing academy products tearing it up, it's just not going to happen like that. Even look at Jeremy Monga. You know, he's done well. He's going to be a great player. He hasn't done a lot in the last couple of matches. I mean, he scored 1 goal. He hasn't done a lot really. That's because he's 16, 17, whatever.
That's the problem with Monga. That we shouldn't be relying on him to start. Like, he's the perfect player. And even though we're in this little bit of a rut that we are in, I still don't change what I said right at the start of the season about Monga, where you've got on that side Steffi Mavididi, a first-team footballer who knows the Championship, who's a very good Championship player, and then you've got one of the best young talents in English football to come on for the last 30 minutes. And then when we're playing a team at home like Blackburn, it could be the chance for, say, a Monga to start if we're playing a lot of games in a short period of time. I just think naturally that should have worked. And at the moment, I'd still disagree with playing Monga from the start. I think he's a fabulous impact sub, hopefully from a winning position. But I think if we're starting Monga, it needs to be when we're in good form, playing at home. Again, look at his age. I just don't like it when we're not playing very well and then we're relying on Monga to start. I don't think that's how Leicester should go about things. I would rather an out of form Mavididi starts and then bring Monga on maybe at half time.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think I get the impression he's been mainly playing because of the injury to Mavididi. But it's absolutely right that he should be more of a sort of last half hour, last 20 minutes. And the same with the others, really. And particularly, like we're talking about that red button. If you pressed it for tomorrow, what are you actually doing? You're chucking in a load of young guys. My son's 15 going on 16, so it rings true to me. They're kids. And to chuck them all in when the team's not doing very well, I mean, I'm not sure that's really the best idea either. You would have liked to have just seen the bench filled and more of these guys getting a chance for these last few minutes, the last 10 minutes, last 20 minutes already this season, really. But apparently we've been concentrating on draws. But
exactly, and it's expected that Samari is going to come into the side. Mavididi may start, and maybe Ayew up front. But again, we're fitting these players into a formation then, which becomes, for me, not unbalanced, but it becomes a formation where players aren't being played in their their best position, and it doesn't actually solve the problem of not scoring goals. A few comments going through. Ragman DC, hi to you as well. Let us know who you would play, what kind of formation, whether you would start two up front, or are we completely bonkers? But the problem is, if we see that team again and we see the back four as the back four, we see Samari alongside Winks in midfield and they've pushed James forward, which we know is not his best position. And then you've got Ayew up front. You're looking at it and you're thinking, it's not going to get an awful lot better. It might get slightly better, and they may go and beat Blackburn 2-1 at home, but it still doesn't solve the problem of going forward, because ultimately, if they do that, even if Jordan Ayew hits a hat-trick tomorrow, it won't solve the problem of the goal-scoring crisis we've got down the centre. It will not, because he will not turn into the 15, 20 goal man that we need to finish anywhere in relation to the top six. It will not. So I'm looking further forward. I'm looking to try and bring in these players who might be able to go on a bit of a streak. And we've seen that a little bit with Patson Daka in the past. Not too much, but I'm looking at it a bit more pragmatic, looking going forward, saying, how do we maybe change that formation, or how do we bring in these players to actually then start scoring goals on a more regular basis, not rather than the one-off game? Because at the moment, it's a season of one-offs, isn't it? One-off fantastic goals from the wing, one-off goals from maybe an Ayew or elsewhere in midfield. I just don't think there's any consistency with the way Leicester are playing on a positive way. There's a fair bit of consistency in a negative way, not mentioning any names. Thomas.
Yeah, well, it's been going on for a long time. Like I mean, this is why Marti was never going to get that long, and it's not really his fault per se. But we've been watching these players. I saw a terrible statistic the other day. In 50 games, we've had 10 wins. I think that might be league games. 10 wins. We're starved of anything to get excited about. So he's got to learn his lessons really quick, which is you've got to change it up. You've got to change it up. Have all these exciting young guys on the bench and be prepared to change it during the game.
Can I be? I mean, we are quite well. I'm not saying that you're definitely not a fun sponge, Joe, but you may be slightly down, okay? And I think I'm a little bit more positive today, okay? I think we might have to have a little bit of a switch reversal here. Now, obviously, I mentioned at the start of the show about Marti Cifuentes. I think any talk about him is just way too soon, completely out of hand. I understand why people would, but I just think it's way too soon. But playing devil's advocate, looking at the fixture list coming up, Tuesday night, we're at home against Middlesbrough, okay? High-flying Middlesbrough. We don't get a result against Blackburn, okay? Boos ring out at the King Power. We then play Middlesbrough, and we can get turned over by Middlesbrough. All of a sudden, this becomes a real problem because, again, we're looking at points taken off us as well, and then we're staring towards the bottom end of the league. We then travel to Carrow Road, and they could well have a new manager in by then because they're really poor. It's not probably the best place to then go and play at a club that's just got a brand new manager at home. So then you've got Stoke at home before you play Southampton away, and I know they're misfiring, but it's still Southampton away. Sheffield United at home, and I know they've been misfiring, but still one of the bigger clubs. And then you're away at Derby. So all of a sudden, the fixture list looks quite tricky. So if we don't pick up anything, if we don't get 3 points against Blackburn, we're staring at a run of fixtures which all of a sudden become quite tricky and problematic for the manager. And I can certainly see a Leicester City in a couple of games' time, or should I say, I can certainly see a fan base of Leicester fans, which maybe are 5% at the moment talking about Marti Fuentes and the rest just talking about the fact that we can't score, all of a sudden becoming quite 50-50 in actually, I think we might need to have to bin the manager off. I think that could happen in the next 2 or 3 games, certainly.
Well, yeah, I'm gonna you've used the magic words there, fun sponge, and I will never have that thrown at me. I'm a fun bat at everything. The fun is flowing over here. So
the waterfall of fun.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, just turn the taps on and it's ready to go. So with that in mind, it a win against Blackburn might just get us back on track. Middlesbrough aren't a class above us at all. So whilst I absolutely agree with you, and I think that's probably the a more likely scenario at the moment. Football's a funny game, and we haven't actually played well yet, have we? And we know we can. We've got the players to put in some decent performances. So yeah, I'm going to flip on my head here and say actually a good win against Blackburn might just be the kickstart that we need to our season, really. So it does feel like we haven't quite got going yet. The lack of anything happening in the summer, bringing in Marti late, it still just all feels like, lots of draws. It just doesn't feel like anything's really started. It's fireworks night soon. We just need a firework up our arse. And to play a full 90 minutes. We've only seen 45 minutes from Leicester in most games so far as well. So could it happen tomorrow? It's a damn good opportunity to do it. And I shall be letting them know what I think of them either way. But yeah, I do think, like I say, it's a damn good opportunity. And if you're going to do it against anyone, let's go against a team that's lower than us, And I always thought, I'm glad that, we've won the Premier League. I used to think this back in the day. We won the Premier League. We will never end up like Blackburn. And here we are. But
exactly. Here we are.
We'll call it the Fallen Giants Derby, shall we? The exclusive club derby or something like that. But we better win it. I think we will. I do think we will.
We better win it with hopefully a rocket of a goal, a sparkling performance, and doesn't it fizzes and all sorts, whatever other firework kind of connotation or whatever. We don't want it to be a frightening performance, being it Halloween tonight or anything like that. Whatever. You get my drift. Right, on to the all-important predictions. Also about Middlesbrough, and this might come back to haunt me, but they're no great shakes. They're a very balanced side, I think, Middlesbrough. They've got a lot. Everyone's playing very well in a nicely balanced side. They look like a side who know exactly what they're doing, each position. But overall, I just don't think they're anything special. So we'll cross that bridge before Tuesday. But anyway, on the back of hopefully a good performance against Blackburn, I think overall, in terms of this season, you look at maybe the first part of the game. I think Birmingham was a good performance, but overall in 90 minutes, it wasn't the complete performance. It was only until they went 2-0 up. You look at the first half, maybe against Wrexham, probably as one of the best half that we've had. And Again, that's kind of what I'm saying about the 4-4-2 formation and going back to something or something very similar. Go back to a little bit basic because we just haven't had that consistency at all playing in this system. We really haven't. And then if you want to introduce that one player who could maybe bring a bit of a spark, a new midfielder or a rampaging fullback or something from the bench who hasn't been playing so far this season, we've got all these young players, bring someone on, maybe start one from, again, a fullback position. I think just something needs to happen because at the moment it's looking so stodgy. And if we're playing that same formation over and over again, I just can't see it happening. And again, if you're playing with the one striker and it's not going to happen. We've got to look further on because it's not going to happen. And we know with Samare, it hasn't happened and it never will. He hasn't done it and it never will. That's the saying, is it? I've still got to get that t-shirt. Right. You're going. I'll be working. I'm on the racing broadcast tomorrow. So Leicester versus Blackburn, the Battle of '92 at Wembley. Again, did you cry at Wembley? Sing that for me. What's going to be the score?
I'm gonna go for a clean sheet. Things we never see. I'm going for a clean sheet. I'm gonna go for 3-0. Karan's the first goal. Daka assist. I wouldn't be so crazy as to predict a Daka goal. No one would ever say that. But we'll go with. I'm going to go with an assist. Because I say get the two guys up front, and it will work. It's going to work. There will be some kind of good play that means that the next game, maybe two up front is the way to go. 3-0.
Have you been drinking?
Yes.
Good. I mean, my word. I mean, I thought I got a little bit of stick out of my Patson Daka will score prediction the other day, but oh my word. Well, fingers crossed.
Then he gets goals.
Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed that happens. I'm going to go for a win. I just think it might be that scrambled, messy 2-1 performance where Leicester either they score that second goal to go on and win the game 2-1 after maybe going behind, or they're 2-0 up and then concede late on. It gets all a bit nervy. But I think a very narrow win. The thing is, I've got no confidence about a 90-minute performance. I've got no confidence in the side keeping it tight at the back, unlike what you just said, in this formation, even if we're 2-0 up. Allah against Birmingham, I think we slightly got away with it that game in keeping the clean sheet. And so I'm still going to go for Blackburn to score one. And also they've got, they will play with those three, again, going forward in a 3-5-2 if they play that formation. And all three of them do look very forward-thinking players. And I think they might get a bit of joy. So, but overall, I can certainly see our midfield looking at their midfield and going, as long as we can avoid, hopefully it doesn't turn into one of those scrappy games, a physical midfield battle, because they've got some midfield warriors. Hopefully we can play us around them because I think they can be played through quite easily, to be perfectly honest. It should be a really good opportunity. It should be a game that Leicester, with the squad they've got, with the first team they've got, with the individuals they've got, it should be a game that Leicester are looking to go and win quite convincingly so. All over the pitch, we've got better players than them. I just don't like the setup at the moment at all. So I'm going to go for a Leicester win. And then we'll be back before the game on Tuesday. Hopefully, we'll have a big show on Sunday. That's the plan. And again, we've got our BC Games special with journalist James, who's doing all the hard work at the moment, going into depth about who BC Game are. We're going to be answering loads of questions on what's the problem with our new sponsor? What is the big hoo-ha about the new sponsor? We'll go into a lot of facts, and then we'll give opinions as well regarding our new sponsor, because James has got some very strong opinions. There's some very strong opinions out there from Leicester fans for some worthwhile, for very worthwhile causes. And again, when it comes to betting, etc., in the betting industry, in terms of sponsorship, understand all the how much aggro and that can cause. Completely get it. And again, from my personal point of view, I've worked in the betting industry all my life, so I can come in with that kind of slight point of view as well. So should be a good episode. And then also we'll have a preview, and then we'll have a preview before the Norwich game. So it's going to be a busy old time on the podcast over the next 7 days. Who knows? Maybe even Rob Hayes may appear at some stage. Maybe not. We will see. But we'll have the likes of myself and Joe back. So, Joe, thanks for joining us on the preview with not Rob Hayes, it's Pete Selby. Your final thoughts for the game against Blackburn. You've mentioned what you think is going to happen. I always ask what kind of weird thing is going to happen. Is there going to be anything crazy like a baby in the stand or a fox run across the pitch? I think you may have answered it actually with your prediction.
Yeah, my crazy thing to happen was that we actually keep a clean sheet. I don't know, Robbie Savage on the TV coverage, that might happen. Who knows?
Well, he's a Forest Green. He's Forest Green at the moment, isn't he?
He is, yeah, he is.
That would be a strange thing. Anyway, great to have you on the show once again, Joe. We'll speak to you next time, I'm sure. My strange thing is possibly what Joe's been drinking before coming on the preview. Great to have your company. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel because you want to be entered automatically into our fantastic competition, which will be starting in November and run through all the way through November. And the only way to enter is to be a subscriber on YouTube. That's it for the preview. We'll see you next time on the back of 3 points, please, and some goals possibly at the King Power Stadium against Blackburn. And hopefully David Speedy doesn't dive this time.